What is nature? We might imagine seasons of green and red leaves, bushes, trees, flowers, animals. But when we describe nature as a whole, then what do we mean? What do we mean when we say an animal's nature, or human nature for that matter? What does this word in itself encompass? What deep story does it want to say? What does it want for us to understand? To understand nature, we cannot only look to the earth. We have to look from where the earth came from where the stars came from where the moon came from, as that was the navigating compass for our ancestors. For them, nature was not only what they found on land or in the sea, but what they also found in the sky and beyond. They did not understand how these things were created, but they understood that they were part of it, and they had to work with it in order for their life to succeed and flourish. They knew that they had to work with the sun for the crop to sprout. They knew that they had to work with the moon to predict the tides. They knew that they had to work with the Pleiadians to know the season of the harvest. They knew the plants. They knew the animals. They knew and heard things that if anyone heard of us speaking about that you could talk with nature today, you must be out of your mind. And that is true. We have to get out of our mind if we want to understand nature, because we have to feel it to understand it. Its process, its birth, its death, its circle, its seasons. It has its own rhythm, its own beat, its own intelligence, and its own wisdom. Way back, the origin of the word nature meant birth. But the birth of what exactly? Birth of who? We know that when we express anything, a feeling comes first before the form does. Different chemicals can be measured, but they cannot be outlived. From what we cannot see, something emerges. Something pushes something, so that the other thing becomes pushed. Like when I looked myself in the mirror and pushed out a pimple, I noticed that my nose started to run, my mouth started to salivate, and it was like tears appeared in my eyes. When pressure occurs, so does flow and water, and where there is water, there is life. Seeming so translucent and lifeless, yet it has so many different forms, and life could not live without it. As we mainly consist of this dense yet invisible liquid, it tells the story that our emotions works the same way as that, the thing that makes us experience life. You cannot see it, and yet you can. Nature is the formless that becomes the form. It's not only the place where I feel like I belong. It's the place where I come from. It's the place where I live. It's the place where I breathe. It forms my steps, my thoughts, my limbs, my heart, my liver, my digestion, my kidneys, my states, my birth, my death, my transformation. It's a mechanism that seems so physical, and yet most of it is not that. It's translucent like water. It's such a perfectly constructed metaphor for life. As lungs are for air, the God is for food, the wings are for the heavens, the seed is for the earth, the flower is to the bee. So simple, yet so versatile, flexible, agile, individual, personal, impersonal, adaptable, humble, shape-shifting, a system of all of these things, where complexity exists to make room for the simple, and where the simple gives room for the complexity. It's endless. It's not just natural law, it's universal law. But nature is a rare orchid within the universe, where the rules of the infinite and invisible applies to its inhabitants. That is nature.